So if we can start this meeting by resting, inviting ourselves to simply be. Being is our true nature, that which we are. And this beingness is not personal. It is, in religious terms, God's beingness, God's presence, which is our presence, which is the only presence there is. You are this presence, which is peace, and it's the only presence there is, which means it's love. Love does not know an opposite. It is the oneness, our totality, our wholeness. So we acknowledge this effortless presence that shines as awareness. This knowingness that is completely free, does not depend on any object. No conditions are placed upon yourself, upon this open space of being, this open field of awareness. It is freedom. And love. So when you open yourself to the unknown, there is no objective. There is no direction to this openness. Like the sunshine, there are no obstructions. The sun shines in all directions. And everything that appears is the modulation of the sunshine. You are not an object, a form, a limited entity. That is an old folklore. It does not apply to your reality as awareness, as consciousness. You are not anything which you perceive. You're not anything which you conceive. So you don't need to fix your experience, but to recognize yourself as this not knowingness, this aminness, this presence, which the mind cannot describe in any way. So you can allow the sensations of your body to just float in the space of awareness. Without any direction. Without trying to pin things down. Your experience is composed of thoughts, which appear in awareness and dissolve in that same space. And your experience is made out of bodily sensations. And perceptions. Which appear in awareness. But there is no separation anywhere. There is no separate entity anywhere. So your body, in fact, is that spaciousness, borderless field of knowingness, beingness. Without any borders. no opposition anywhere. You don't need to know what you are. Because there would be some limitation. The mind trying to pin you down. I am, beyond any doubt, I am. Whatever I is, does not need to be defined by the mind in images and concepts. Presence is real, it's reality. Reality is beyond any formulation or any definition, because reality is one. Sat Chitananda, Sat being, being. Sat is being. Chit is knowingness, awareness. I am and I know that I am. They go hand in hand. This is why we say consciousness is self-knowing. I know that I am. And I know that I know. There is nothing outside of consciousness that knows consciousness. Because there is no separate reality outside of the reality of consciousness. The knowingness of consciousness is by consciousness itself. As soon as you know consciousness as something, you have split it. You have split consciousness into a subject which knows it and the object which is known. But consciousness knows itself within itself without splitting itself. You know yourself as this presence, which is the same as presence knows itself as I. It's the same. In presence, consciousness is not a female or male body. It's not a feeling or a sensation or an image. Because feelings, sensations, and images are a dime a dozen. Consciousness is one. It's not something you imagine, but it is that which imagines. It's not something you perceive, but it is that which perceives. Formless. Infinite, invisible. Not a limited entity with limited perception and limited point of views and limited field of sensations and limited objectives. You don't need to make a problem out of the body or out of the world or out of the mind. You don't need to make a problem out of the cherry tree or the oak tree. You don't need to make a problem out of the lake or the ocean, the volcano or the raindrops. You don't need to make a problem out of thoughts and sensations, images and memories. You don't need to make any problem at all. Except if you like to play the game of problem solver, then of course you're welcome and free to conceive and create problems and solutions. But it's just your play, not for real. Like children like to play in their imaginary world, creating all sorts of creatures, heroes and dolls, and to play, because there is complete freedom to play. But the freedom is not the freedom of the body or of the mind. It is God's freedom within you, which is your freedom. Your true freedom is infinite. Okay, so if you have any questions, anything that you would like to discuss or explore, please make sure to unmute yourself. And you're welcome to turn on the video. This way we can see each other. So, any questions?
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, Marga.
How are you?
Hi, good. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Yes, same here.
When you started the meditation tonight, I've been pretty constricted from a weird coincidence this week. I don't have that many friends, and out of my tiny group of friends, 2 of my friends lost children this week. Yeah, and I found myself causing suffering in my own mind, imagining their pain and wishing I could help. And it's so painful seeming in my mind. It's overwhelming that I'm, creating even more. So as soon as you started the meditation, I saw my own constriction, and I didn't even see it. It just was gone. And then you said that this openness isn't directed any direction. So I realized that's the only place where, without this narrow focus, there was space for being with them almost. Like that's where I can be instead of this tiny human struggle, which is not helpful for anyone. So I just observed that, and I appreciate you.
Yes.
Your words that are so helpful there.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. There is room for everything in God's dream, in God's garden. Is room for everything, including the sorrow and empathy, wishing peace, to your friends, and understanding. Sending your love. Because yes, it's an open. There are no borders to being, to presence, to God, to reality. So you can touch their heart, just by opening your heart to them, you're touching their heart. And in this dream, nothing is for certain, but the reality of awareness, of consciousness, which is non-phenomenal. That's the only certainty, is the certainty of being, the certainty of presence, the certainty of awareness, which is the one reality, the certainty of love, creativity, the certainty of creation, the infinite potential of creation. It's interesting, you shared with me what you just shared about your 2 friends, because just earlier, not too long before now, 20 minutes ago, a friend of mine sent me a YouTube video that he composed, he put together as a tribute to his son who passed. And I was listening to that very touching sharing of the memory of his son and the love that they shared together. And the love was so palpable. It's really very touching. It brings tears to my eyes. That's really what matters. And it's okay to feel contracted or narrow, or it's okay. There is room for that as well, you see. Then we realize, oh, there is room for everything. It's just an open space, an open field of being, of presence, of love, of light. And I am that, I am that, I am that. That embrace, that effortless presence, that effortless loving presence. You know, we're like children in the garden, we're playing. We play more and more loving, you know, friendly games with ourselves, with others. Understanding that there is really nothing at stake from the true perspective, the true perspective of being, the perspective of presence, from the perspective of reality. Because reality is and cannot not be. It's that understanding about our reality, the reality of the world, the reality of the universe, the reality of the mind. That the reality is this formless wholeness, oneness. So that's a beautiful way of being with your friends. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Micah. Any questions? Any questions?
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, Mo.
Hey. Um, I have a question, but I'm having a little bit of a hard time putting the words together for it. I'm wondering in terms of having a healthy ego, perhaps, in order to be able to find that path to is like, is it necessary for if someone's ego, let's say, is crushed or broken, that perspective,
Yes.
would that be limiting to that path?
Mm. Well, there is no healthy ego, more to various extents, extended. Each one of us has some sort of personal issues, personal traumas, wounds and histories, and so it's not like this is a healthy ego, this is unhealthy ego. It's more of a gradient. Sometimes we refer to an unhealthy ego when a person is, let's say, is limited in the way in which they can function in society with others, with work, with family, in their relationships. They can't sort of adjust or cope with various situations. They're not as flexible, as adaptive. They don't integrate easily in society in different situations, let's say. But that's just at that level, let's say. When there is a glimpse of the truth, and it awakens an interest in you, it doesn't matter your ego health, the health of your ego. Of course, there are extremes. On one end, there could be a severe dysfunction, and most of your energy is just spent on trying to survive in the society with this dysfunction. And so you may not have that much availability to hear the teaching and understand the teaching. Or you can hear the teaching, but to understand the teaching, you need to devote some of your attention towards the understanding of the teaching. The hearing comes from God and it just comes to you. But then you have to undergo a certain study, let's say, to understand the teaching. By the way, the short answer to your question is no. There isn't. It's not an obstacle. The whole process of somehow the eggshell breaking open a little bit, that is mysterious. It's mysterious. there are no rules about it, or here are the 10 conditions that are should be fulfilled for somebody to first get a glimpse and then to explore. There isn't a set of rules. It's mysterious, but there is this metaphor of but like there are various levels of interest, degrees of interest. There is this metaphor about there is a fire, and if you put in the fire a piece of food that's green, not seasoned, it will take a long time for it to burn. But if you put in the fire a piece of food that's seasoned, it will catch on fire relatively quickly. And what makes that difference between a seasoned piece of wood and a green one? We don't know, really. We don't know, and it doesn't matter. What really matters is that we hear God's message and we honor it. We get the invitation and we say yes to the invitation. I remember years ago, I used to work in a psychiatric center, and you could say that people there had damaged egos. One could say that. But I was very fortunate. I was there as a night manager. I lived there. I wasn't just working there between 8 and 5 or whatever. I lived there. I had a room, and it was my home. It was many years ago. So because I lived there, and it was a center where there were 20 or 30 people that also lived there. There were patients. I got to know them. We would have dinner together. And part of my job description, I had to take them during the day. Sometimes I would take them shopping, or I would spend the weekend with them, take them to the park, or I would hang out with them quite a bit. And I was impressed by two things. One is the tremendous artistic talent of some of the patients. Really amazing, creative, artistic, but like some of the work anybody can say, anybody can do painting or drawing or illustration, but there's some work that when you see it, it's sort of, it takes you to beyond the art. It takes you to beauty, so I found that impressed me. The other thing is some of the conversations that I had with some of the people there, with the patients. There's a lot of wisdom. I mean, there was definitely a dysfunctional aspect to their life and to their mind, but there was also a lot of wisdom. And then you go around and you talk to people that are so-called healthy ego. You find all sorts of negative emotion. You find greed, you find fear, you find envy, you find coveting, etc. So there are no rules, no limitations upon God's infinite love. And God's love is across the board, as speaking in using religious language, of course. I'm not talking about a God out there, I'm using metaphor. There is no discrimination in consciousness. It's just one. All is consciousness. The tornado and the beautiful sunny weather, they're equal from the point of view of reality. They're equal. It's all manifesting from the same source, and it is that same source that's taking on the form of my form, your form, the form of a healthy ego, damaged ego. It's that same reality. It's there. It is always available to I as I. Even if it's not formulated as I, there is a knowingness, an inner knowingness, which is consciousness knows itself. So I would not there are no obstacles. Now, of course, if there are some personal traits that one notices are dysfunctional, well, we work on them the best we can, Holger, I'm gonna leave this one to you. I don't know what that is, but I'm a little wary. But it shouldn't be an obstacle to your love and interest in truth. In fact, many of us who get a glimpse into reality, we have a lot of issues, in family, in our perception of ourselves and our emotions, and there are degrees of dysfunctionality in all of us, but it's not a problem. All of that, in time, it evens out in our understanding about our reality, which is the formless aware presence, which right now is hearing these words, that which perceives right now. That which perceives right now, that reality has nothing to do with ego or no ego. It's there. It's there, available. It knows it is, and it's you. You. It's you. You know you are. I know I am. It's not. It's not something else. So both work can go hand in hand. The psychological work, the therapeutic work, whatever. But it's not an obstacle. We can also simultaneously be contemplating. If we have an interest in truth and we are doing therapy, for example, it's a good idea to find a therapist who is familiar with the non-dual, who has non-dual understanding. Like Francis says, a happy therapist, not a therapist who says, "Oh, I know what you mean. I have the same problems. life is a real shithole."
I find myself to be an interesting, I don't know if it's a paradox or maybe a crossroads. I'm definitely always been very introspective and like to go deep and figure out the roots of whatever might be in the way. And the deeper I dig, the more I find that this perception of self, which I recognize has been covered my whole life with masks of showing my worth based on achievements or behaviors or whatever it might be. And it's almost like, you know, how we grow up and we're being taught like there's a healthy sense of self. Like, you know, if you have if you have, it's just a belief in you, just a belief in yourself. If you grow up in a loving environment, an understanding environment that, you know, gives you the ability to build a foundation of a healthy sense of self, which I recognize for me was not there. But at the same time, my question is it really, does it really matter? Is it really important? Because if it's false anyway, who cares? Like, why is that even needed?
What matters is where you're at right now. You know, if right now you have an interest in peace and freedom, in joy, in love, in understanding, well, that's what really matters. What really matters to you right now is, does it matter to you right now to figure out what is a healthy ego and figure out whether you have a healthy ego or you had an unhealthy ego or you had a so-so ego? Is that, if that's your interest, well, then you can explore that. But if your interest is a fresh new interest right now, I mean, whatever is behind you is behind you. Here I am right now. What is it? What is going on right now? What is it that I really want? What is it that I really aspire for or love, whatever the words are? What is it that I really want? If you really look at that question deeply within yourself, you may find, I think you will find, that what really interests you is not figuring out what a healthy ego or unhealthy ego is, or whether you had an upbringing that led to a healthy or unhealthy ego. That's not really what you really care for. What you care for and what you love is happiness, is freedom, and if that is the case, if you really find that, okay, look, I can mind trip into healthy egos and unhealthy egos and my history, and I could do this mind tripping. Of course I could, and it's endless. Or if what I care for is peace, happiness, freedom, joy, whatever the words are, that's what I care for, and that's what I want. That's what I want to understand. That's what I want to figure out. And so then the question is not, oh, well, I'm unhappy right now. Well, what is the cause of my unhappiness? Is it 20 years ago? What happened to me when I was 12 or 10? Or is that the cause of my unhappiness? And then you can trip. Well, who knows? You say, well, no, it is what happened to me when I was 12, and then later on say, no, it's what happened to me when I was 9. Oh, no, it's what happens to my brother when he was 6. So the question is, what is happiness? What is happiness? Rather than, a history or mind tripping, is what is peace and happiness, and what is peace and happiness right now? What's in the way of happiness right now? Okay, whatever was in the way of happiness yesterday doesn't matter much to me. But what is in the way of happiness right now? What is in the way of peace right now? What is in the way of freedom and joy right now? But that, for me, it's an interesting question, because I and now are the same. It's not like I and yesterday or 5 minutes from now. I mean, it's not about yesterday or tomorrow. It's about peace and happiness now. Otherwise, we're always dragging a corpse, wherever we go, we're just dragging the past, carrying those old files and folders. And there are drawers and drawers of files and folders about the past. But now, in this moment, what is peace and happiness? Because I don't care that much about peace and happiness tomorrow, really. Peace and happiness now. And this is what we explore. This is what we explore in our meetings. And what we share is, and this is for each one of us to check it out, is that whenever you're referring to yourself as a personal, separate entity, check it out. Whenever you refer to yourself as a separate, mortal entity, a man, a woman, a limited consciousness, you experience worries, concerns, fears, emotions, a sense of lack. It's not like 90%, 100% of the time. Whenever you refer to yourself as a personal entity, a limited consciousness, there are worries about tomorrow, regrets about yesterday, desire for, you name it, regret. But when you don't, like maybe now you don't, what's the problem then? And you see, thing is, like, when we simply are, without referring to ourselves as a person, a limited consciousness, a limited entity, and we say, what's the problem now? There's no problem, all is well. Then the mind will come, a thought will arise, possibly, that will say, well, what about, what about, I'm going to live like that. What about tomorrow? I'm going to also like just be just like that, like a zombie. A thought, that such a thought may arise. But that thought which arises, that says, am I going to be a zombie tomorrow? Is referring to I as a separate personal entity. And when that thought arises, you will experience unhappiness. Say, shit, I'm okay now, but what about tomorrow? What about when I go to work tomorrow? The I in that thought is that separate entity. It's not I as this presence. Because if you ask presence, oh, what's going to happen to you tomorrow? It goes, who cares? What tomorrow? I'm okay now. But let tomorrow come, let yesterday come, let 1,000 years go, 1,000 years from now come. All is well as presence. Because presence isn't, it's not like experiencing like a limited consciousness existing in time. Pay attention, check it out. Whenever you're experiencing any unhappiness, a little one, a big one, a huge one, any sort of unhappiness, it is because there is the I thought, I as a personal limited presence, a limited awareness, a limited personal consciousness. I as a body mind, I as somebody. But in the absence of such a thought, all is well. You've got to check it out over and over and over more until you get to a certain degree of comfort with just being, and let life live its way. Life will tell you, hey, it's time for me to go to the market. I need to buy some food for tonight's dinner. Life will tell you that. It will tell you, hey, I'm feeling lonely. I'd love to invite my friends over, have, watch TV together, whatever. Life will tell you that. Don't worry about that. But you don't need to be a limited entity. You don't need to define yourself as I, this person, in order for life to happen. It's actually, life will unfold with more of a flow, more harmonious flow, when you are not knowing, meaning when you are not referring to yourself as Mo, as somebody with the past and the son of so-and-so, my dad, my granddad, my mother, my neighbor. When you don't refer yourself as that, as the body mind. Because what you are is not a body mind. You are the reality which hears these words. You are that which perceives the body. You perceive a toothache. You perceive a hunger. You perceive a hand. You are that which perceives. You are the reality which hears these words. You're not a bag of bones and flesh or whatever. That's the body. It's like you're not your car. You're not your bank account. You're not. Of course, you care for your car and you care for your bank account. You do what you can with it. You care for your body, of course. I'm not talking about nihilism. I'm not doing a nihilistic talk. No. You take care of your body. If you're not feeling well, you check it out. You go to the doctor, you change your diet, you get some rest, whatever. But not to confuse yourself with the body. You take care of your car if it needs to be washed, it needs air pressure in the tires, fill the gas tank. You take care of your car, but you're not your car. The fact that you're not your car doesn't mean you cannot take care of your car. I mean, the fact that you're not your body doesn't mean you can't take care of your body, of course. It's rudimentary, it's so basic. This is just one thing that you need to do. It's just, whenever you refer to I, whenever the I thought arises, ask yourself, is this I thought a limited personal consciousness? Or I being the reality which is? Whatever it is, we don't need to define it. Whatever it is, there is presence, awareness. Is I referring to awareness? Or is I referring to the son or the father or the friend or the neighbor or the blah, 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 fill in the blanks? You follow?
I do. Is it okay if I ask a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit to expand?
Sure.
Okay, so there's like two different points. So one point is that I recognize this limited being over here recognizes that, or the perception of the limited being recognizes, has had the experience of the true nature of consciousness through the use of some medicines. And that was an experience. It wasn't a logical understanding. It was an experience. It was an awareness, which all the descriptions through these talks or others describe it very accurately, exactly for what that experience is or was, and trying to put something that is very difficult to put into words to put into words.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one point, is just like, I guess, to leave that on the side. It's like it's almost like this limited version has a goal, like a set point of, a destination, a target. And then there's the limited being. And when I refer to the I, recognizing that it's the limited being, and also being consciously aware logically of what it means, the definition, if that's even possible, of like the truth, but not being able to, at least for the time being, experiencing it, actually feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, go back to that question of ego, is it seems like I recognize that it's my mind that is in the way of that. It's all the mental chatter and all that mental noise. And it's almost a question of like, would it make sense that maybe this perceived damaged ego needs to be fed with false confidence, like, a healthy diet and exercise and certain achievements and accomplishments, where suddenly it's like, okay, I could breathe and I could see, and now there's, like you mentioned earlier, there's more energy perhaps to dedicate to that discovery of truth, while in the meantime the mind is just so busy with establishing that sense of somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or maybe that would actually lead in the opposite direction, where it just keeps feeding the lie.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Well, when there is a glimpse into reality, into universal beingness, it awakens in you the interest, a new interest. And this interest can grow into more of a passion. But what's important to understand is that it's not the personal self who is interested in God or in truth. Because there is no reality to the personal self. What you imagine yourself to be, what the cocoon, the me cocoon, there's no reality to that outside of a series of thoughts and memories and emotions and feelings. The interest in truth comes from truth itself within you. That which you are, that which truth is interested in itself. It's truth that is interested in truth, not you. Not you, the body mind, not you, this person that you imagine yourself to be. You as truth, you as a reality. It's reality who's interested in reality. The mind goes, what do you mean? Reality, interested in reality. It makes no sense to me. I know. We're not talking to you. We're not talking to you, who the mind who works in very narrow. Because when God appears, when there is a glimpse into the absolute, into reality, it's not about the mind. It's about reality. The mind is just a stream of thoughts, perceptions, memories, sensations. This is what the mind is. It's a stream of a movement. Nothing wrong with that. But it's not knowing. It is not the mind which knows. That which knows right now, that which understands right now, is not the mind. It's I understand. When I ask you, did you understand? You say, yeah, I understand. You don't say, oh yeah, let me check with my mind. Oh yeah, I just checked with my mind and I can tell you my mind understands. No, I understand. The understanding is from I, not from the mind. The mind is just a movement. There isn't like a mind anywhere, like a mind, there is I. You can always ask yourself, am I? And always, night, day, you can wake yourself up at 3 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of your sleep, and ask yourself, am I? And you can say, yes, I am, and go back to sleep. Of course, the answer is going to be yes, of course I am. But when you ask yourself, am I the mind? Then you have to flip a coin. You say, oh yeah, I can prove to you why I'm the mind, blah, 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 blah. You will not find the mind. When you ask, where is the mind? You don't find the mind. You can ask it right now. Where is the mind? Right now. You don't find a mind. You find a perception, right? Of course, there is a perception. You find maybe the sensation of your back on the chair. You can find things like that. You can find perceptions, sensations, thoughts, but you won't find something that's the mind. So be clear about that, because, and double check it for yourself. I may be wrong. Maybe you will find the mind. I don't know. I'm just sharing my experience. I don't find a mind. So therefore, it's very clear for me. There's no iffiness. There is no iffiness about it. That the mind doesn't understand, because there is no mind that I know of. It's I which understands. It is I which perceived God, which experienced God, or which experienced beauty, which experienced love. It's I. And what is it that aspires for love? What is it that aspires for happiness? It's I. I, not the mind. I, not the body, which I perceive. I, not my car, which is in the garage. I, as this reality right now, which is and which knows it is. The reality which perceives, the reality which hears these words. That's the I. So the thought that arises that says, okay, what do I need to do in order to get that again? What do I need to do? This I in that thought, what do I need to do? That I is a false I. That I is what you imagine the mind, the mind, what you imagine yourself to be. The mind is full of images and memories and sensations, perceptions, dreams, right? That's what we refer to as the mind. But you are not the mind. You are that which perceives the mind. You are that which perceives the thought. You are that which perceives the night dream. You are that which perceives the bodily sensation. You are that which perceives the toothache, right? Right? You are that which perceives. You are the reality which perceives, right? So you perceive the mind. The mind is a known, but it's not knowing. So when you say, I would love to experience God again, but I is not this what you imagine yourself to be. I is the reality right now. Then you can go directly to, okay, well, here I am. Am I this reality? Yes, I am. Here I am. I'm experiencing God right now. I'm experiencing reality right now, because I means reality. I does not mean the body, which is now 40 years old, 50 years old, 60-year-old, 70-year-old. That's the body. That's an important distinction. You need to come to understanding about that I is the reality which perceives, and truth is a reality. The experience that you had, with the medicine was a glimpse into reality, into truth. In the dream, you had a glimpse into truth. And because you're in the dream, that glimpse into truth appeared to be, wow, I'm just putting my own words to it. I'm not describing experience because you didn't describe it to me, so I cannot speak about it. But in the dream, you're like, oh, then you have an experience, you glimpse into God, and it seems so beautiful, so magnificent, as compared to the sluggish dream. What am I going to do Monday? Oh, Tuesday, my father, my grandfather. So, as compared to the sluggish mind, this life of sluggishness, of sluggishly being identified. Same old, good old, same old, A glimpse into happiness, into freedom seems to be fantastic. It is fantastic as compared. It's like if you're in prison, let's say you're in prison for a month. And then they tell you, okay, you're in this jail cell, solitary confinement. And they say, okay, Mo, you've been good. You've been a good confinee. You can step out in the yard for 5 minutes. You can see the sky and the clouds for 5 minutes. It feels to you like, oh my God, it feels to you like heaven, right? Yes. So, but reality is our true nature. Peace, love, and happiness is our true nature. It's our true nature right now in this moment. It's not like some fantastic experience. The experience is just a glimpse into our true nature. That's why there are sayings like, in various scriptures, I am within you. You're looking for me, but I am that which is looking. You're looking for me, but here I am. I am here. I never left you. I never leave you. You're looking for me, but I am you. In the scriptures, I don't know, sometimes I'm paraphrasing, is that there are sayings that in the spiritual journey, we arrive to our destination, but not one step is taken. There's not one step taken, because our true nature is what you're looking for, which is right now. Your true nature right now is this pure, simple presence. You see, the thing is, we conflate the simple awareness with mind. But the simple awareness is God's awareness. There is a saying in some of the Buddhist scriptures that ordinary mind is extraordinary. What do they mean by that? Ordinary mind is extraordinary. Contemplate what we just shared more, because there are teeny bits of understanding about truth, about reality, about I, that they restore order. Slowly, order is restored. And when order is restored, it's not like, oh, wow, now I'm levitating. No, I'm just tranquilo. I'm just, all is well. no lack, no fear.
I wonder, like, when people are on this path and journey of discovery, and some of them could maybe be practicing or studying and maybe inquiring for like long time, 20 years plus, and they say like, oh, I traveled around the world to all these different places and I finally came back home, and that's where I found that something for all along was, was there all along. And again, it seems to me like all of these ideas that are spoken about, like I could hear all that, and I could again make sense of it or not, because I know it's beyond mind. It's definitely not my experience right now. I mean, it might be my experience, not what it feels like my experience to be. And
When you
I,
say
I
my experience, what is this I that you're referring to in when you say that? Right.
the imagined I, the limited I.
That imagined I is appears to you is not that which you are. You cannot speak of.
Understandably, and that's still what it appears as.
Yes, right. It appears as, but if you appear to yourself as a unicorn, then you say, well, I'm sorry, Magdi, that's what it appears as. I'm a unicorn right now. No, you wouldn't say that, but because it doesn't appear to you as a unicorn, it appears to you as whatever, and you've gotten so used to, you've got habituated. You don't say anymore, no, of course I'm not a unicorn, Magdi. So you say, I am not, that's not my experience right now. And I'm asking you, what is this, when you say it's not my experience, what is this I that you're referring to in right now?
Would it be better if I said if it's not its experience, or because
Well, you can, right now there is an experience. Right now there is an experience, right? It's
yeah.
not like there is nothing. There is an experience right now,
Mhm.
right? And is something wrong with this experience?
The way it feels, yes.
What's wrong with this experience?
I feel tension, and I feel anxiety, and I feel depression. I feel all these different
Hold
things.
on. Well, you're moving fast. Okay, you feel tension. Okay, tension. So tension is appearing to you. It appears to you as what? As a sensation, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's say in your chest, for example. So you're feeling a sensation in your chest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. First, would you say that you are the sensation, or you are that which perceives or knows the sensation?
I would say that I'm that which perceives.
Yeah, you're that which perceives, knows the sensation, right?
Yeah.
And is it possible for you to just allow the sensation, because it's already there? It's just a freaking sensation. I mean, let's say you're sitting on a bench by the river, or by the lake, and you're watching. It's just beautiful, and then a huge boat, travels by, comes by, appears to you. You're sitting, you're perceiving the boat going. Can you not be disturbed? Can you just sort of let that freaking boat be? I mean, who the heck cares? It's not like you need to get on the boat to travel to India. You know, you're just sitting on a bench. You're watching the boat, and then half hour later, the boat is gone. Now there's no boat. And then some pelicans fly by. Pelicans. Can you let those pelicans be? I mean, they're not pooping on you. They're flying by over the water. They're pooping in the water. So you say there is depression. Depression. This moment, let's say this moment I'm experiencing depression. What's a depression? Take a look at it. Okay, before we all say, oh yeah, depression, don't mess with me, don't, you know, I know you're not depressed, so you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I know depression, you don't. No, I know depression. Don't worry about it. Have you taken a look at depression? Take a look at depression. Depression is made out of sensations and the story, meaning thoughts, the story about, oh, God, I'm just, you know, shit, this is not happening, that's not working, and, you know, nobody loves me, and I'm not going anywhere in my life, and my father was just such a bad guy. The sensation is like a boat passing. You're on the bench. The boat is passing. And the thoughts, you know, are pelicans. The pelicans. They're passing. You, nothing is happening to you. You are sitting on the bench. So take a look at that possibility. Possibility. Explore that possibility. Because if you don't come to the understanding that you are the presence on the bench, sitting on the bench, then you make your depression, then you'll have a bout of jealousy. And you resolve that, now you've got some anger about, and on and on and on it goes, until you realize that you're on the bench and nothing is happening to you. But if you identify yourself, or when you identify yourself as somebody who is being that somebody who will only be happy if there are no boats and no pelicans, these are my conditions, you know, I'm no freaking boats and no pelicans, and then I'm happy. Okay, well, you can play that game too. You can sit on that bench and be happy, and hopefully, I pray for you that no boats and no pelicans come by. But I'm sitting next to you on the bench, and I don't care, pelicans, you know, I'm okay with pelicans, boats, dolphins, you name them. Because I'm on the bench, and okay. When I get hungry, I'll go make a sandwich, I'll come back. Even when I'm good to make a sandwich, I'm always on the bench. I'm always watching. I'm viewing. This is identity, identification. It's identification. I know we are habituated. We've been so habituated to identify ourselves with this or with that, whatever. So many ways. I know that. I mean, I'm not different. I know what you're talking about. I know. It's just this habit, and somehow we've we've been doing that. We've been interested in doing that because nobody ever really is forcing us. But now we have an interest, a different interest. We have an interest in freedom, in peace, and not in resolving depression. No, we're interested in understanding, in peace and love, in freedom, right? We're not interested in resolving the past and building the future. We're interested in understanding peace and freedom and joy right now.
Would it be fair to say this concept of like inner child, that is closer to truth,
No,
kind of like as a window to, no?
no, the window to truth is awareness, presence, consciousness. Inner child, no.
I'm saying like when, you know, in the original state, a kid before the world conditions all these kind of things, maybe that
Well,
state is more.
well, the newborn, the mind hasn't yet been conditioned by names and forms and preferences and trauma and all that. It's just pure presence, which is this pure presence right now. The only difference between the baby, which is pure presence, and pure presence right now is the baby doesn't know, is not aware that he's aware. He is pure presence, but it's not yet like now presence knowing itself. But yes, it is similar to the baby mind, not the inner child, whatever. I mean, whatever, I don't know. Sometimes people use those terms in different ways. But yes, it's like the baby mind, the pristine mind, the fresh mind of presence knowing itself, consciousness knowing itself. Yes, but the consciousness that knows itself is this consciousness right now. Right now you're conscious, right?
Yeah.
What is it that's conscious right now? What is it that is aware right now?
Well, I guess consciousness.
Yes, it is consciousness that is conscious, which we also word it as I am conscious, right?
Yeah.
Meaning I/consciousness is conscious. You follow?
Mentally, yes.
Okay, well, what is it that is conscious right now? You agree with me? Can you, if I ask
When
you...
I say I, the identification is automatically there.
No, why? Why are you saying that? Why?
It's what it feels like, I'm saying.
Well, a feeling doesn't decide what I is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares what it feels like? I'm not talking what it feels. If feeling is the damn it doesn't. If feeling doesn't decide anything, what is it that is aware right now? Can you answer?
From my perception, it's almost as if it's this thing that I've gotten so used to thinking that is aware, which is my mind, I would say. And again,
What is your mind? You say your mind. Okay, tell me about your mind.
this thing that thinks.
Tell me about this thing that thinks? Tell me about it. What is that thing that thinks? No, I'm curious because I don't know anything about. I don't have I don't know yet. Tell me about it. What is that thing that you know of that thinks? It's a belief. It's a belief that there is a thing that thinks, and that belief is enrobed, is dressed into a feeling, or but there is no thing that thinks. I'm not denying there is a thought. Thought I love my mother. Yeah. But let's go back to it. You're aware right now. What is it that is aware right now? Is there awareness right now?
Yeah.
And this is awareness, something that's floating around, like you say, is there a table right now? You say, yeah, here's a table. Where is the table? Here is a table. There is awareness right now, yes. What is it that is aware of awareness? Well, I am aware. Okay, I am aware. I am aware. Now, this I that is aware is not some memory or some feeling, or if thought is not aware. There is awareness of a thought, but if thought is not aware, or feeling, if feeling is not aware, there is awareness of a feeling, right? You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So I am aware is just another way of saying awareness is aware. But yet we have an intuition. We have an intuition that I'm aware. We're just confusing I, which is awareness, with what we call the mind. This is confusion, but it's an important confusion. It's not like, I'm not going to spend so much time about it if it was irrelevant. It's an important distinction. Yes, I am aware, but that which is aware is awareness itself. And I is this awareness. I is not a mind. It's no mind anywhere. In this moment, it is I which is aware. It's not your thoughts that are aware, or your bank account that is aware. It's not your car that is aware. It's not your body that is aware. It is I which is aware. I in this moment is awareness itself. There's a storyline that says, oh, I am the mind, I am the body, I am a good guy, I'm a bad guy, and blah, blah, blah. This is just thoughts appearing in awareness.
If it is that these thoughts are so conditioned to be thinking in the ways that they have been like my whole life,
Thoughts don't think.
the brain is just,
The brain doesn't think. The brain is an organ. Thoughts appear. Thoughts appear, right? I'm not denying thoughts, yes. So
is there a way to recondition
no,
the
why?
pattern of those thoughts?
No, you don't need to recondition thoughts. Oh my goodness. It's like you want to recondition the weather, or you want to recondition God, or you want to condition the currents in the ocean. Why? There's so much trouble. I mean, it's not so complicated.
Because of that story that comes along with it.
No, you don't need to recondition the story. You just need to know that you are the awareness of the story. You are the viewer of the story. You are not the character in the story. You are the viewer of the story. You're a viewer, the viewer of the character and of all characters in the story.
Is there a character?
Yes, there is a body mind called Magdi. I'm not being a nihilist, like, oh, who am I? Oh, I don't know, I'm consciousness. No, the body is named Magdi, and it has 2 children. As Tara is my beautiful wife. I have a car. Yeah, there is a character, but I am not the character. I am not Magdi. The Magdi is the name of the body. Mo is the name of this male person, this body. And we're not denying a creation, but the fact that there is a body, that there is a person, doesn't mean that I am the person. I experience the person. I experience thoughts. I perceive thoughts. I perceive sensations. I perceive hunger. I perceive tiredness. I perceive the thought of getting together with friends and having a good conversation, having dinner together, whatever. So you seem to be making it an issue about thoughts. It's like wanting to make an issue out of the weather. Thoughts are just an internal weather. Identification is different. Identification is, I am not viewing, I am a character inside the story. When you identify yourself as a character inside the story, you have, at that moment, you're no longer viewing the story. You're a character in there trying to survive. But you're not a character in the story. Except if you want to be a character in the story and you say, okay, you play the game of I'm a character in the story. But it's not so much fun to all the time you just have to battle. She loves you today. She doesn't love you tomorrow. He loves you today. He doesn't love you tomorrow. You win the lottery today. IRS takes all of it and leaves you with pennies. Yeah. Right?
Where does the misidentification come from?
You're
Like,
free.
how does it happen? If it's not a thought, is it not a thought that causes that misidentification?
It is a thought and a belief. It's more than a thought. Like, for example, you can think, gee, I am Santa Claus. The thought might appear to you, I'm Santa Claus. But you know you're not Santa Claus. But if the thought is accompanied with a belief, the thought I am Santa Claus appears to you, and you believe it. So yeah, you identify yourself with that thought. You take on that identity. You don't need to understand the process of identification. You simply need to understand that you are perceiving thoughts. You're perceiving a body mind. You're perceiving images. You're perceiving perceptions. And that which perceives is not an object, because an object cannot perceive. That which perceives is not a thought, because a thought cannot perceive. A thought is perceived. That which perceives is formless, is nowhere to be found as an object, nowhere to be found like you find your glasses. But the fact that you cannot find it objectively, as like you find your car in the garage, the fact that you cannot find it objectively does not mean that it is not. Reality is, awareness is, consciousness is. You cannot put it in a box. You cannot paint it blue or yellow. You cannot cut it in 5 pieces or 7 pieces, one for every day of the week.
Yeah, I understand. The reason I ask is you mentioned before is like, I don't remember exactly the words, but you said that you're, unless if you want to be identified with those characters, but really
Yes.
you're not. And it's almost like it appears, it seems like for some reason that there is this internal desire to be identified with those
Yes.
characters very strongly.
Yes. Yes, there is, and we love to be somebody. There is an interest in being somebody. But at some point we realize that being somebody is just such a pain in the butt, it's like, please, enough. God, give me a break. Then we become interested in stopping to play this game. And we like to play the game of victim too, I am somebody as a victim. Oh, I'm a victim.
That's definitely been it's been my go-to. So yeah.
Yeah, we all know that. Don't worry, you don't have a monopoly on that on that one.
I was going to say some good food for thought, but I guess good food for consciousness. So
Yeah, well, good food for thought. Yeah, reflection is good. It's very good. This is, yeah, absolutely. When we get together and we explore together our understanding, our insights about consciousness, about reality, it's beautiful. It's very significant for the people who are interested, for the ones who are interested.
I appreciate it.
Okay, Mo, nice chatting with you. Yes.
Likewise.
Okay. Okay. Well, lovely to see you, Andrew. Yes. Hello, Andrew. Yes.
Good to see you, Magdi.
Yes. It's been so long. We've known each other for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to speak up anyways, because I appreciate what Mo was saying and what he brought up. And I seem to have come to my own way of dealing with these issues of anxieties or and they always apply to the sense of separation, right?
Yes.
And when we talk about freedom, peace, happiness, love as our true nature, we can't really apply that to the sensation of being a separate self. That's not the true nature of a separate self.
Yes.
It can only be the true nature of Satchitananda or God, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so when I don't have a short list of problems or things to worry about. There's plenty of them, but what I seem to simply find myself reminding myself that only God exists, and only God has ever existed.
Yes.
And then the sensation of being other than that, with all the phenomenal world of separate things and separate events, it becomes apparent that that's not the ultimate reality, that really the truth is, from an Advaita point of view, is that only God exists, and ever has and ever will, ever does, right? And I use the term God not in the typical Western church sense, but as Satchitananda or the Tao.
Yeah, I use the term God all the time. Yeah.
Very happy to use the term God.
Yes.
It means to me, I think, what it does to you. But when I remind myself of that, then there comes in a sense of trust about all the things that need to be dealt with. I mean, either Satchitananda will work it out,
Yes.
Won't, but even if it doesn't really affect me because I'm not this thing tossed around by the winds.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah.
I wanted to run it by you because some people would say, well, you're just not dealing with things and that's spiritual bypassing, or but I find it a helpful practice, you know.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, uh, an important aspect of the practice, as a way of speaking, in terms of using the term practice, is living, you know, in God's light, in God's with God's understanding, living as universal consciousness, and to live with the understanding that everybody is my very self, and everything is God's creation, God's creativity, including this body mind, and that the reality which perceives is not a personal reality. The
Right.
reality which perceives, it's I universal, I as God's being, as God's love.
yeah,
And the personal self is in time it becomes a myth. It becomes a myth, and there is a period of time where we at times, you know, go back to the old model of, you know, me, and, you know, and as identification as a limited, you know, consciousness. But it becomes less and less so the more we live our hands open to God's embrace, and God's embrace is always there. It's just saying, okay, whenever you're ready to open your hand for me, here I am, you know, and I'm always here, always available to you. And whenever we sort of, you know, say yes, I say yes to thou, you know, thou are my light, my guide. And it's life will prove to you. It'll prove to you, because life is God's creation, will prove to you God's love, and God's wisdom, and God's freedom and joy and celebration. And yeah, so we just keep acknowledging the love, you know, whenever needed, because at some point in time we don't need to acknowledge it anymore. It's acknowledging itself, you know. But
yeah.
it's okay to acknowledge God's love, God's presence, our universal beingness, and that this world that we perceive is it's like God built this this beautiful playground, you know, for us to play, to celebrate him, to celebrate her, to celebrate love, to celebrate friendship, empathy, compassion.
It's so easy to slip back into identifying with the things that are perceived, like my thoughts or
Yeah.
the feelings that arise, or whatever. But I find helpful, you know, a few sort of aphorisms, I guess, that just cut to the heart of it. Like Nisargadatta said, "You are not anything that you are conscious of.
Yes.
You are consciousness itself, or awareness of itself. I
Right.
can be aware of a feeling that came up,
Yes. Right.
but
Yes.
I'm not anything that I am aware of."
Yes. Absolutely. And also, like, to not to allow, I mean, to be non-judgmental, to, so what? I mean, okay, I mean, we slip into personal identification with this or that. To when we are non-judgmental in any way with ourselves and with others, then all is well. All is well. We somehow are transported to all is well. That,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
I see it, I got it, no
Yeah.
problem. No problem. It's all God's doing. And so then there'll be no problem, because we're like completely non-judgmental, and it's just an ongoing process of relaxing, appreciating, being grateful, loving, whatever. Is no need to describe it or have say that's how it is. You know, it's an ongoing process because love is endless, and the potentiality of the expression is endless. The expression of that love.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Andrew. Yes, thank you. Wonderful. Yes, cool. Okay, well, it's been very lovely. Thank you all. And very, very beautiful. Holger and Andrew, Mo, Chris, Marga, Mark. Hey, Mark. Hodi, hello, Hodi, and Chai. Thank you all.